Well, hello, everyone. My name is Lance Smith. I am reaching out to you from San Diego, California. I hope this finds all of you doing great. If you're brand new, I want to welcome you and thank you for coming and joining us. We are on a 2-day or 48-hour blitz. We're doing 18 of these presentations in a 48-hour time frame, and I've been honored to asked to share tonight. Actually, I'm sharing now and again in about 4 hours. So we're going through a presentation talking about this entrepreneurial movement that's taking place across the country. As you all know, the last 3 years have been crazy for a lot of folks, and for a lot of reasons. We'll talk a little bit more about that. But before we do, let me just go ahead and jump in and introduce myself, a little bit about my story. As I said, I'm from San Diego, California. I'm one of 6 kids out here. I was one of those families that, if you showed up to dinner late, you didn't get a chance to eat. And so we had to, always work for everything. We had I was telling someone the other day, I was definitely a trust fund baby because my parents trusted I was going to fund myself. Otherwise, I got nothing. And I miss those days, and I'm grateful for those days. But it led me to going to work early in life. I went to work when I was 16 years old at a retail store, worked my way up as I was going through high school and college. And at 19 years old, I had one of my managers came back and showed me an Outdoor Life magazine, which I'm an outdoor nut. And they showed me a picture of a girl holding a big halibut in a bikini and dolphin shorts back in the day. And I thought, man, that's my kind of woman. And I found out that was the new cashier. And so I went through the line as soon as I could, got to know her. And for the next 4 years, I chased her around. She is now my wife, Tracy. I told her she married me one day that we'll have nice things. We'll travel the world. We'll, live in a nice house. She'll be able to shop. She'll be able to do the things she wants to do, drive nice cars. And so she said, I do. And unfortunately, 2 years later, I was broke. I was living in a 600 square foot condo. She was working as a bank teller and working in retail. As much as I love working with folks, living in Southern California as on a retail type income just wasn't really working for me. And it really, it was one of those things that I kept putting off. I laugh because I had a car that wouldn't start and she had a car that wouldn't stop. And we did the very best we could. We'd get the bills that would come in and we'd pay the ones we could. And every now and then we'd get a letter that says, hey, congratulations, you qualified. And I'm like, I don't know what to do to qualify, but let's fill this one out. And it took literally about 2 years before I came home one day and found my wife in tears because the creditors had been calling her all day long. And I don't remember exactly what she said, but she looked at me and she just said something to the effect of, this isn't the way it was supposed to be. And for me, that was a turning point in my life because I'd made a lot of promises and I talked a good game, but I really wasn't putting a lot of points on the scoreboard. And so what I did at that point is I started to look. I found myself in a position where, my reputation, my character was on the line, and I knew I really wasn't performing the way I needed to perform. And so I started looking at things. I looked at franchising. I looked at vending machines. I looked at golf course driving ranges, laundromats. I was looking for something that I could do where I could, create an additional income. We wanted to start a family, really couldn't financially afford to do that. And fate would have it, someone came, it showed up at my house and shared with me this idea of network marketing is what we called it at the time. Social marketing, is what it's called today. But I'll tell you, I looked at it, and what it did is it wasn't necessarily what I was looking for, but it checked off a lot of the boxes. It was allowing me to have a business that was a low risk but a high reward possibility. It was something I didn't have to quit my job. My wife didn't have to quit her job. It was something that we could do when we wanted to do it. It was something we could do where we wanted to do it. And it just made sense. And so we thought we'd give it a shot. And because of that process, to say my life has changed over the last 30-something years would be an absolute understatement. It's changed every part of my life. And so we're going to share with you this idea today, and specifically the idea of change, because really what we've found is, as I said before, our world is going through a massive shift right now. And so with that, let me go ahead and pull up our presentation, and I'm going to go through this real quickly. So here we go. So let's talk a little bit about change. One of the things that I love reading books. I love quotes, and one of the quotes that I love the most is, the only thing really constant in life is change. And change is something that happens to all of us. I think for most of us, we don't live in a linear world. We plan on, hey, here's what we're going to do. We were raised to go get a good education, go to college, get a good degree, go to work for a good company. And at that point, you really don't have to grow anymore. You can just go through life. And at the end of 45 years, you get a check, you get a retirement, and you live happily ever after. And I think most of you would agree those days are gone. I look over the last 30 years, the kind of changes that we've gone through from economically and from socially, and specifically the last 3 years as we went through the pandemic years and went through those tragedies. So many things have changed. I was talking to someone the other day. You think about the change from a business world. Here you got someone like Uber. Uber is the largest taxi company in the world, and they actually don't even own a taxi now. Who would have thought of that 20 years ago? Facebook is the biggest media company, even though they don't create any of their own content. You look at Alibaba, who's one of the largest retailers that are out there, and they have no inventory. And then you look at Airbnb, the company that actually has more accommodations than anyone else out there, and they don't even own a property. And so thinking out of the box and expecting change is the only way that you're going to make it in life. I tell people all the time that the world is full of a lot of flat squirrels that couldn't, in the middle of the road, that couldn't decide which way to go, and they stood there and they got run over. And unfortunately, that time is picking up and it's moving faster, and we have to change and we have to adapt and we have to adjust. And there's really 5 things that we've learned over specifically the last 3 years. As I said before, that the old model of get an education, get a degree, and you're good for life, that those days are gone. That's not going to come back. Another thing we learned is that playing it safe is the new risky. The people who go out there and say, I'm doing great. We got one income. We're fine. I'm never going to lose my job. A lot of those people were absolutely disrupted over the last few years. And, you hate to see when that happens, but really those who play it safe, that's really one of the riskiest things you can do moving forward. You have to have multiple income streams. You got to be able to have different sources of incomes coming in, because you really never know. I have lots of friends that are in the restaurant industry or in the retail industry, and a lot of them really got crushed out here in California. Many of them went bankrupt and had to move out of state just because they weren't able to operate. And who would have thought that 4 years ago something like that would come along? Another thing we learned over the last few years is that no one's coming to save you. Not the government, not your employer. Nobody's coming to save you. If you don't protect yourself and watch out for yourself, and I tell people all the time, I love what it is I do, but if you don't do this, do something, because what you don't want to do is you want to be caught blindsided and be caught off guard. And so there is nobody coming to save you. One of the other things we've learned is that the old wealth of have the big house and have the fancy cars and the designer clothes, that's kind of there's a shift happening in the world right now, and I see it. We're in front of people all the time. I speak to audiences around the world, and one thing I've seen is that people are kind of shifting away from that as what they call success to the new success. The new wealth is having time, being able to live a life by design and have control of your own time. It's being able to have great relationships. It's being able to design your life and be able to structure it the way you want to do, and work where you want to work, with who you want to work, and when you want to work. It's having better health. I remember reading Ray Kroc's book, and Ray Kroc ended up dying in his late 50s, early 60s, and he died to the wealthiest man in the world. And I often ask people, how much of Ray Kroc's wealth would he have given up if he could have lived another 10 years? And the answer is all of it. And I think over the last bunch of years, we've seen enough celebrities and people out there that are, do great and they make a lot of money. And man, I look at them every day and I wouldn't change my life with any of them, to be honest with you. And so all of that has shifted. And one of the things that's even shifted even greater is that there's never had been more opportunity than there is now. And that's what we're going to talk about today, is this shift. And I'm specifically going to go into from the retail standpoint, because that's kind of the background we come from. And that's really where our starting point is here. So let's talk about the evolution of businesses. I talked about evolution of taxis and transportation and hotels and all that, but let's talk about the retail side and sales and how we actually purchase items. Well, if you have a startup, so years ago when I was looking at franchises, I realized I didn't have enough money to go out there and start a franchise. And so we were looking at maybe doing a mobile coffee shop or something like that, where we could go ahead and put up a little kiosk somewhere, and we could make some coffee and we could do that sort of thing. That's right around when Starbucks was coming out. And certainly you can go ahead and do that. The way that it works for those is it's kind of word of mouth advertising. You have a corner that you put signs up. You hopefully the word gets out that you've got great coffee. You're serving one person at a time. It's small overhead, but the problem is that it's do it yourself. And what I realized really quick is that if I'm the only one that's working in there, and that's the only way we generate income, and I've got to be there to create an income. Even if I could leave my job to go do that, I really just traded one job for another job. And so we decided not to go kind of that pathway. And then there's the storefront model, where you can start a store. And as I said, I met my wife at a retail store here in Southern California. One that, by the way, when change started to happen, didn't make the shift. And because of that, we got a notice one day that said, we regret to inform you, but all 16,000 employees are out of business, within 30 days. But if you help us close the store down over the next 3 months, we'll give you a severance check. And my severance check came in literally after 6 years working there for $172.76 30-something years ago. And some people ask me why I got involved in this industry. And that was enough right there to kind of shake me to the core that no one was going to be taking care of me. But from a storefront model, you've got a bigger footprint, and Again, you're going back pretty much to word of mouth advertising. You're doing traditional advertising, doing flyers, leaflets, you're sending out mailers, that kind of stuff. Now they can do some stuff online. You've got more overhead. You can serve more multiple customers. But honestly, the effort that goes along with those. I walked into a store the other day doing some shipping or doing a little bit of Christmas shopping. And I walked back to the restroom, and they had a wall that was literally 35 feet long. That had it was back because you had to go back through the employee area to get to the restroom. It was literally all the do's and don'ts, all the rules and regulations. And I looked at that thing and I thought, man, I have so much respect for anybody who has a brick and mortar business today that's actually out there doing it, because the regulation and the requirements and the taxes and the responsibility that goes along with that. You're the first one there, the last one to leave, the last one to get paid. And, again, that had to evolve, and it has evolved. And even though there's storefronts out there today, a lot of the companies have got to do a hybrid model, because what happened is in the 90s, the 2000s, the virtual online, we had the dot-com bubble. We had a lot of companies realize, hey, we've got the internet, and what's it going to be used for? And so all these companies started to pop up. Now, I was in the industry at that point, and so I was part of this revolution going from the storefront. We got to a point where, when we first got involved, stuff would be shipped to our house. We had to handle it. We had to ship it out. And when we went virtually online, we literally shifted to a home-based business where we did a lot of our talking, person to person. It was word of mouth, but we still had to go ship products out and do all that sort of stuff. And so I had a home-based business for a bunch of years. But that home-based business ultimately shifted over to a phone-based business, because literally all of the things I could do back then are right here on my phone. I have an office just upstairs here that's, I think, probably 1,500 square feet, and I had a huge oak desk, and I had a phone that was plugged into the wall, and I had a fax machine that would make weird noises at me when papers came out. And then it would roll out. If you put it in the sun, it would go away. And I went through all of that, but little by little, all of the things I had on my desk for my calendar and my contact list have all gone to this right here. And by shifting from a home-based business to a phone-based business, that literally changed all the rules, because now anywhere my phone reaches, I can be in business. And I was just talking to Peter, the gentleman that set this presentation up here, and we were on a cruise a couple of weeks ago. And here I am out in the middle off of Cuba, and I'm being able to do business where I want, when I want, with the people I want. And I love that part. And so what the social e-commerce does is it takes this model a little bit different. What it does, it is really built on relationships. It's based on who you know, and never has there been a time in history where you can build relationships so quickly. I'm investing in a certain area, and I thought, I'm going to find some groups really quick that are investing in the same thing. I jumped online, and literally within an hour, I'm connected to really a bunch of really highly successful, like-minded people sharing ideas, and never before have we had the ability to do that. To be able to share interest, to be able to leverage the global economy. I remember years ago, I'd be teaching people that, it's 5 degrees of separation. Somebody who knows somebody who knows somebody who knows somebody who lives in Hong Kong. And those days are gone. I can click on social media, or I can jump online, and I can connect to somebody in Hong Kong or the Philippines or Japan instantly and get to know people instantly. And it's totally changed where we're at. And this idea of the social e-commerce is really been appealing for a lot of folks for the reasons I'm telling you about. Nobody necessarily starts off searching for that, but if you look at a lot of where the income is coming in from today, that's really where it's coming from, because just take advertising as a whole. We're talking about advertising all of these steps. It used to be that advertising was strictly from celebrities. They'd pay a couple $1 million in the middle of a Super Bowl ad, and somebody would jump up there, and give an endorsement of a product. And that slowly went to the point where it's now influencers who have a lot of that. I follow a particular guy online that's a fishing guy, and he goes out there and he built a lake, and he's, and he has millions of followers. In the middle, he talks about, hey, go ahead and get this food or get this, knife set or whatever. Makes millions of dollars doing that. And it really has shifted away from the celebrities to people that are influencers. And from there, it's actually taken a bigger shift, specifically the last 3 years, to micro influencers. And what a micro influencer are is you and me. That's who the micro influencers are. Those are people that can go out and share an idea, have got, maybe 100, couple hundred, maybe 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 people connections on social media, or the contacts on their phone. And the reason why it shifted is because there was a study that came out recently that said you're 10 times more likely to listen to the advice of a friend or a family member than you are to watch an advertisement on TV from some celebrity telling you what to do. And we're all doing that every day anyway. This idea of social or the social e-commerce, we're all doing it anyway. We go to a good movie, we go to a good restaurant. What do? We jump online, we tell people about it. And they go, and we don't get paid. But in our model, that's exactly what it is we do. And so the function of each of them is this. is yes, if you sell direct, you're kind of doing it one-on-one. If you do a storefront, you can go ahead and you're doing basically a store to a customer. If you're doing the virtual online, and again, this is really where the influencers are at right now. And I'm just going to step back real quick. One of the things that was a prerequisite for me to getting involved, I looked at the franchise, and let's say I started at McDonald's or Burger King or whatever, I bought that franchise, and I got really good and I became very successful at that. Here's the problem. If I had a friend or family member that was actually wanted to do the same thing, I couldn't teach them, even though I knew exactly how to do it, because the only one that has that right is the franchisor, McDonald's Corporation, Jack in the Box, or whoever it is that has that franchise. For me to go ahead and try to set somebody else in a restaurant now that I know what to do, I would be sued and I would have my restaurant taken away or whatever franchise model I had. And so I wanted to have something that would go on beyond that. And even these influencers today, they go out there and they have the cameras on themselves. They're on TikTok and all of them. And God bless them. If they're successful, I wish them the best as long as they're doing it the right way. But that really isn't something that you could pass on. Those people can't pass that on. And so you see a lot of them giving out money and doing stuff. What we do is we literally have a way where we set people up through this social e-commerce site, and we're able out there to share an idea. And that's sharing that idea of health and wealth. And I'll get more in depth than that. We're going to already attract a crowd. One of the products that we first had when we first launched actually, I think we got our product somewhere around April and May of last year. I remember my wife, she got a collagen product and she went ahead and put a post online and kind of did it before and after 3 or 4 days. And first thing that happened is I got a notice that says, "Hey, you got money in your back office." And I asked my wife, I said, "What's this?" And she said, "It's mine." And since that point, she's got dozens and dozens of customers that came up naturally because she's talking about something that she tried, that she liked, and she's getting paid for it. I think about a friend of mine who lost a bunch of weight a couple of years ago. And he went ahead and promoted the product that he was getting at a local store and probably moved $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 of that product to that store and didn't get paid anything. What we do is we set you up where you can. But it goes further than that, because some of those people that come on board that look and say, "You know what, I like the product and I'd like to create an additional income too," is we're able to set them up a business without having the boundaries of franchises and without having the boundaries of having a local opportunity or a storefront that can't move. We're able to expand this into 14 countries currently around the world. And we'll be expanding from there. And that allows us several things to be able to pick up the customers that we're looking for and also find people that are like-minded that want to build a business as well. And that is where the excitement comes from. And that's why we're on this call. Let's go to the next one. Let me talk about what we've got as far as our ecosystem. So there's a couple of things you need to actually build one of these big e-commerce sites. And so you got to have a provider, a platform. That happened for us last year. We got together and met a few folks that were coming together that were looking for the same thing we were looking for. But honestly, our gift wasn't necessarily from running a company. Our gift was out there sharing an idea, talking about health and wealth and being able to change people's lives, in a personal way. But we needed somebody to do the products and services, do the management, do the research and development, the logistics, and any of you that have run a corporation know how tedious that is, and it takes the right people. And it was very carefully selected. I've been in the industry for 30 years. I've worked with 3 different companies that are all billion-dollar companies. And I'll tell you in confidence, I've never worked with a greater group of people, of executives, of owners, of the people who have come together to help us launch 3. I've never seen it in 30-something years. And I couldn't be more excited about the provider and the platform that we have. They have basically the hardware. They're the ones that show up and go to work at 6 a.m. They work late at night. And God bless, I really am grateful for all of them and appreciate them. Then we have participants that come along, and those are the micro influencers. They're basically, what we're doing is we're talking about products that we tried that we like. That's what we do. We go out there and share this idea with people. They react one of 3 ways. Some people look at it and say, "No, it's not really for me." And we'll usually give them a couple of products and see if it changes them or and make a customer out of them maybe. But if it's not for them, that's fine. Some people look at it and say, "You know what, I'd like to try these life-changing products and see if I have a experience with it." And my new job today is listen to people talk about how great these products have benefited them and what a difference it's made for them. And so we bring that global community, and so we bring the software. And the third type of person is the person that comes along and says, "I'd like to not only try the products, but make some income." And so that's where the influencing comes from. So there's a couple of things. Number one, why is our business growing and why now? Now, first of all, the economy. It's I remember a participant running for president, a few years back, and he said, "Is the economy stupid?" Well, right now it's the economy stupid. 64% of people in America are living from paycheck to paycheck. Never before has there been a time where I've seen more people looking. People I never thought were looking, the people who thought that they were set, people who were just kind of coasting into home. The economy has disrupted almost all of them, and people are looking for other ways to do this. And honestly, when we came together, there's a group of folks that are here that really didn't have to go jump back in the game and jump back on the field. But by looking around and seeing the amount of hopelessness and the amount of people that are depressed, the amount of people that are struggling, we just know that when this is done right, there's no better platform, in my opinion, to go out there and help somebody and change their lives. And so the economy was one thing, and then the timing was extremely important. We're coming out of COVID. A lot of people locked themselves down. I went for a walk just. We have a lot of trails around our house, and went for a walk the other day. Passed probably 15 people, and I'd say only 2 or 3 said hi. The rest of them were kind of looking down and. Hey, man, people are looking for something. They're looking for better health. They're looking for better wealth. They're looking for, something that could change their life for the positive. And so the timing couldn't be better. And from a trend standpoint, I'm going to talk about proactive wellness and, health and wealth. And, people are bottom line, they're looking. The trend is there. People have figured out, when they were able to come home for 3 years, that they can be productive at home and they can make money from home. And they got used to being around their kids, and they got used to having a little bit of lifestyle. And a lot of them now are being forced back into the workplace. And if you love that that's great. But for me, I realize, I'd rather be able to wake up and be able to spend time with my kids and my family and do the things I want to do than be able to have somebody that's in my life that gets to tell me when I could go to work and when I can have off and when I can go on vacation and where. And so, that's that part of it. So let's go to the next phase of it. So we're going to talk about science meets wellness. I'm going to introduce you to a good friend of mine, Dr. Dan. He was on the cruise with us a couple of weeks ago. Dr. Dan's an amazing guy, and I'd go through his Caltech, all his background as far as science and what he's able to do, and all the patents he's got and all the formulations he's put together. But Dan is one of these guys that he's polar opposite of me. He's really into this science, but really what happened for Dan, just to share his personal story, is Dan had somebody very close to him in his life that passed away early. And he was also a scientist. And Dr. Dan looked and said, you know what? It would be cool if I can go into science and I can figure out ways to help prolong people's lives and be able to help them. And hence the idea of proactive wellness. Three is known as the proactive wellness company because, as Dr. Dan says it, most people don't worry about their health until they get sick. And then they go to a doctor, and rather than going out there and doing proactive things to stay healthy, what they do is they get prescribed medication that may or may not help them. And I love listening to the pharmaceutical ads where they have all the disclaimers at the end of what it can do. And I'm telling you, most people, if we could get to the point, and this is Dr. Dan's mission, is if we get to the point where we could get people ahead of time and we could get them the right nutrients, get them, the right minerals, the right things into their body. Certainly the earth has those things out there. If we can get those in there and they could be absorbed, and it'll make a difference in people's lives. They'll live a healthier life. They'll live longer. And so he went through that process, and he is our lead when it comes to Three Science. One of the big parts that he looked into was having delivery systems, because we've all heard that you are what you eat, but really you aren't what you eat, you are what you absorb. And for most of us, when we eat something, we absorb maybe 5%, maybe 10%, maybe 15% if we're lucky. But there's different ways to actually take these molecules and get them into the cells. There's technology behind them. And I know we've got 10 patents. We've got an 11th patent that they're working through right now. There are ways to get some of these molecules into the body. Some of these molecules are bigger and they have a different transport. Some of them are smaller. But by having 11 different technologies and 6 different products, we're able to get somewhere between 30% up to 95% absorption for the products that we have. And so from being able to take something that makes a difference in your life, we're seeing massive changes, unlike anything that I've ever seen. We also have third-party vendors that actually have tested this, and they can go through and we can show you exactly from a baseline. It wasn't tests we did ourselves. We went ahead and went outside and to verify what we're doing. Is it working? Is it not working? And the organic control, as you can see on the far right there, is real low. But we're able to get these products and get these, these nutrients into people's body. And as Forrest Gump one time, when watching the movie, I love his statement where he says, what I was doing seemed to make sense to people, so I got company. And what Dr. Dan is doing seemed to make sense to a lot of people. And so he's got company. We've got a scientific advisory board that works actually with Dr. Dan pro bono, because they agree and they believe in the mission of being able to have people live a healthier life and a longer life. I think today I was listening to Samson talk earlier today on one of his calls. I think he said there's over 150 different doctors that have joined us in just the short 7 months that we've been open. And so we're excited about that and excited about all of these folks. We have an epigenetic study that comes in. It shows how that really, as you dig deep, there's certain genes that we all have, or we have these genes in our body, and some need to be turned off and some need to be turned on. And not, you don't want to get those reversed, but we've got a study that if you want to dig into that to see what our products are able to do, it's fascinating. And then we have here's our 6 products. And literally they're one product line, but they're packaged 6 different ways because the delivery systems that it takes to get them to the body. And so my wife and I, since day one, we've been on them, and I can't tell you, we feel better, we feel great. I love what they're able to do. And again, I'm hearing so many amazing stories. And what's cool about these is these are in the PDR, which used to be the physician's desk reference back in the day, where if a doctor got stuck, he'd go in the other room and he'd go figure out, he'd open up this big book. Now is to the prescriber's digital reference. But to have all of our products in there, you can't pay to put it in there. Every doctor that's out there now has our products. They can go look at, see, the side effects and how they coact with other stuff. And so it's very cool for us to be able to have products that have that much science in place that it's able to be out there where doctors can have access to it. And so let me hit a couple of things real quick, and then we'll wrap this up. First of all, you got a lifeline in life. And I will tell you, we have this point at birth, and we get to the point we're at now, and then we have this unknown future ahead of us. And if you look back at the past, all of us, I read a book just recently where it talked about kind of roots on a tree, and it says all of us have got these roots where we could have taken this path, we could have taken this path, we could have taken this path, or we could have taken this path. And the truth is we made choices along the way, and every choice we make kind of sets us down another path when we can't go back and take the paths we didn't take. We keep, as much as we'd love to, and sometimes, you've got great reward that comes from it, and sometimes sorrow, but it leads us to the point where we're at now. But this author was saying the good news about where you're at now is you have those multiple choices where you can take different paths, and you can stay as is and keep doing what you're doing. And if you're loving what you're doing, then keep doing it by all means. We'll be cheering for you. But for most people, if walking down the road and a trail down here and having the indication of nobody even looking at me, there's a lot of people out there that are looking for something. They want a different life. And if nothing changes in your life, nothing's going to change in your life. And if you always do what you've always did, you'll always get what you've always gotten. And so my question for you, I guess, is where is it you're going? And let's kind of talk about the future and what it is that you want to do. For Tracy and I, I'm a strong believer that you've got to live your life with the attitude that the rest of my life is going to be the best of my life, because really that's all that you've got. I love the memories I've got. We've got kids, I've got grandkids now. I love the different phases of my life, but I'm really looking forward to building something amazing. That's kind of what drew us all together here. And so my question for you is, are you wanting more? Where are you right now? And you can be honest with yourself. I can't see all of you on this call, but I'm going to ask you, where are you? At what point are you in life? And you got to be honest with yourself, because the greatest lies that we hear aren't the ones that other people tell us. It's the ones we tell ourselves. And if you really aren't happy with life, where can you make a difference? What is your why? What is your purpose? What is it you want to accomplish out of life? If you could wave a wand, where would you like to be? And, for most people, they've got dreams and goals, but the problem is the older you get, the more people start to swat them down, and they say you're crazy, because the truth of the matter is most people aren't succeeding, and they really don't necessarily want everyone else to succeed, especially the ones that are around them. And so what is your why? And the next question is, do you have a vehicle to get there? We came together just over a year ago to kind of put the formulation of this together. Again, we had a soft launch in February. We had our launch on May 22nd, I believe. And we put this vehicle together because we knew that there were a lot of people out there that didn't like where they're at, and they still had a big why. They still had another reason why. And we wanted to have a vehicle in place, and we wanted to have an action plan that really could help them take to the next level. And so what is that action plan? It's basically 3 different steps. It's, first of all, learning. We've got a whole system in place that we're going to tie you into, that you can learn about how to build our business, about the wellness products, and how to share this with other people. The second is out there to go do this. And basically, again, it's talking about things you've tried that you like and getting paid for it. And we can show you how that works as you get customers and you get people who come on board as brand ambassadors. And then as your business grows, we teach you how you can teach it to the other folks. And I love this because you're in business for yourself, but you're not in business by yourself. And that makes all the difference. And so with that, we put together a turnkey business. We really put together literally like a franchise in a box, which is what I like, because most people don't have success, because if you have a good restaurant down the street and you want to own a restaurant just like them, they're not going to tell you how to do it. But our industry is built that way, that there's a lot of us that have had success in this industry, that our goal is to help you become successful, because the way we monetize this is we get paid by helping other people get paid. And so we want you to become successful. And so we put together a welcome orientation booklet that will walk you through the steps of how to get started. We have another digital tool that's literally for people that want to look at the opportunity. And whoever invited you can get you in touch with this so you can see different videos on how this is built, how the compensation plan, how that works. For those of you that want to learn more about the science and learn about the products, there's another digital tool that you can jump on, and with the QR codes, we'll see the different videos from Dr. Dan and what their mission statements are and the products that we've got and what they're able to do. And so those are based on the people that want to see the products. And then we have another one about brand ambassadors for people that actually want to go out there and build this to a bigger level. And so this turnkey business is there for you. Again, you're in business for yourself, but not by yourself. We can help you, and we put together a system in place that will help you do that. And so kind of to summarize it, we've got a cycle of growth and transformation. You learn, then you do, and then from there you teach, and then from there you lead. And that is what we're doing to drive the change right now. And so with that, let me hit my stop share and get out of here real quick. Just the last couple of thoughts as I'm wrapping this up. The foundation of what we put together, there was a lot of effort that came to putting this whole thing together. And it's I was out in Vegas recently, and when you go to and I'm out there about every month or so, and I've been going out there for about a year and a half, and there'd been a site where there was a bunch of cranes there, and every month I went back, it didn't look like anything was happening, and month after month after month after month after month, and all of a sudden I go back one time, one trip later, maybe after a year and a half, 2 years, and all of a sudden there's a 40-story building right on top of it. And I tell you that because the foundation to a building is the most important part. And what happened with Three is only 7 months old, but this literally is years and sometimes decades if you take the experience and the making to put together what we've got. We've got the right people from the corporate side, an incredible Daniel Pacu. I can't wait till you get a chance to learn about him and meet about him and his vision for the company. The people who work at the company, great, some of the best there is. For the people that are actually in the industry from a field standpoint, I've been around some of the best leaders in the industry, and we've really attracted some of the best and brightest there have ever been that are not only here to help us build something, but they're here for the right reasons. They want to make a difference. They want to build a global entrepreneurial movement that could really bring back hope to a world that lost hope for quite a few years. And with that, we've got a great product, so we've got a great platform, and all those pieces are coming together. So the foundation is fantastic. And from that, to get involved in this, get where the person invites you. But we've got 4 different packs. But one of the things I do want to mention is we have something called the Founders Pack. And it's $1960, so a little under $2,000. And it is the top pack that we have right now. But it's a temporary pack that we put in place for people who would catch the vision early and help us expand this movement of better health, of proactive wellness, of being able to create an income and being able to have different revenue streams. For the people that caught the vision of Three and what we're trying to do, we put together this Founders Pack for people to participate in a 2% global pool. Now, the 2% global pool, and by the way, this isn't the only way to get involved, but I'm telling you now because this is the time-sensitive way of getting involved because it's just a matter of days before it's going to go away, and then it's going to be done. And that 2% global pool, we put a cap on it. And again, we are growing. I mean, we're breaking records as we're growing, but what's cool about the global pool is that global pool is not going to continue. It will when we open up other countries, but that global pool here in North America is short-lived. And I'm telling you this because that 2% global pool, as we go from, there's many of us in this platform that were in 150 or 140 different countries over the last bunch of years, and this expands globally, and that pot stays smaller. That group of founders stays small. That 2% global pool is going to be an amazing thing. And so get back with the person that invited you, can kind of share with you how this works, the Founders Pool. But I'll also say this, is that we're doing 18 of these presentations in a 48-hour time frame. And so in about an hour and a half, we're going to have another one of these. And so I recommend that you go out there and you talk to some folks. I tell people all the time, you don't have to get in this to try it. If what we're saying makes sense to you, jump on another call in an hour and a half. If you really want a glutton for punishment, jump on in 3.5 hours. I'll be back up here again. And with that, you'll see what we're all excited about from different folks sharing the same idea. And so with that, and I have a cough, sorry about that. I'll get rid of it by the time I come on next time. With that, have a fantastic evening and happy holidays to all of you. Thanks, everybody.